this is the perfect time to do it in your 20s.
I'm a victim of it myself.
You have to take the risks. You have to step out of your comfort zone.
I think my 20s have been a lot of self-discovery.
But it only really changed when you made the choice to actually take those actions. Risking at that stage in your life will be more detrimental to risking right now.
That it's a decision and a choice. You can't really figure out what you want to do if you don't know who you are, right? I mean, we've all been there. We've all felt that. My tax.
My brother.
Hey, man. Good to have you back.
Good to be back.
Yeah, welcome back to the Been There, Felt That podcast, episode 2.
No, I appreciate you having me again.
Always great. Straight to the bat. I mean, we had episode 1 film a few weeks ago. New experience, how are you feeling?
No, like you're saying, new experience, very fun, to be honest. Never thought I'd find myself doing that. And again, appreciate you for having me, allowing me to speak my piece and just where I'm at, or just having a reflection on what we used to go through. It also got me thinking, actually, because never touched on it, that how or what was your reasoning for starting this? You know what I'm saying? How you got into actually thinking of starting a podcast, what do you want to accomplish with it? I feel like it's something actually we didn't touch on back there, and it actually got me curious looking back on it as to your reasoning going into things.
I mean, the reason I wanted to start the Been There, Felt That podcast was like a video journal for people to see experiences of normal people. I mean, we're not extraordinary in any ways of our circumstances or luck, but I mean, I just wanted to be an inspiration and hopefully inspire others to change, because I'm a victim of it myself, and victim not in a negative way, in a positive way. There's so much self-help books, videos, podcasts that I've watched, and I never really applied it to my life until recently. And I realized, let me video a journal of like my journey, and hopefully other people can be like, if he can do it, I can do it, you know? So it's just to hopefully inspire change of people that want to change necessarily, because that's where you guys start from, is that it's a decision and a choice. But I really just want to prove and be living proof to people that you can do it, you know?
No, fair. Respects for that, brother.
Appreciate it, bro.
I like what you said about the whole choices thing, because at the end of the day, like you're saying, it's self-help books. You read self-help books, you watched all these videos, you did all these things, but it only really changed when you made the choice to actually take those actions. Am I right?
Yeah, of course. And I mean, on a topic I think is a big thing for us, and choice is such a big thing in life, is we're all trying to figure out life, right? And I think figuring out your 20s is when we have a lot of free will and a lot of free choices. And I think we make choices without realizing how it affects us and others. Because at the end of the day, all the choices we made in the past has led us to the moment where we are now. And all the choices we're going to make and are making will add up to our future. So, I mean, I'd love to hear your opinion on the whole figuring out the 20s of people or society making it seem like you have to have your life together, you have to know what you're doing, you have to know this or that, and kind of, yeah, figuring out your life.
Oh, well, yeah, figuring out your 20s is, or it can be a very daunting time period for individuals like myself, like you, because like you're saying, there's just a lot of people that say, or you have this, what's this, image or thinking that you have to have everything figured out now. You have to know that, okay, I'm going to be doing this job. I'm going to put a bond up for this house. I'm going to have this car. And it all needs to be done right now. And then in your 30s, yeah, okay, cool. That's a chapter that happens in itself. But a lot of people feel like in your 20s, you have to have accomplished certain things or set up at least certain things to make sure, or to have the idea that you're on the right track. But for me, figuring out your 20s is about failing, learning, and just improving that cycle. And people are scared to fail, myself heavily included, which is why a lot of the choices that we tend to make are the safe option or the easier option. It's not about what we truly might believe is beneficial for us or what we truly want to do, just because we want to play it safe. We want to take the easy road. So figuring out your 20s is a very daunting, scary time, I will say, but never feel like it's a time where you have to hold back. If anything, it's the time where you have to put pedal to the metal, go full throttle, and try all these new things, fail, and until you get to a point where you find what works for you. And that's what I've been applying to my life now. I know that I'm not going to get everything in one go. It's about trying, failing, perfecting. Okay, I won't say perfecting, because yeah, perfect is
It's being better than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say, yeah, just constantly improving my systems to find that one that matches for me. You know what I'm saying? Uh,
So would you
that
say in
routine.
terms of there's so much uncertainty happening in this period of our lives? I mean, we are given a blueprint and a guideline from our parents to school telling the do's, the don'ts, and now we kind of thrown out of where people expect us that straight away, oh yeah, from school, I know I need to go down this path. But right now it's kind of picking and choosing what path you want to go down because there's so much free will. And I mean, at the end of the day, like you're saying, aligning and being better, then every day I think some people choose to stay stagnant because of that comfortability and scared of failure. So do you, the point of that your 20s is trying to mostly put yourself out the comfort zone and try and figure out who you truly are to yourself, not what society thinks or has told you to be.
Oh, exactly. 100%. That's why I was saying it's, for a lot of people, it's, oh, it was myself included. Let me not exclude myself from anything, but it was, or it is, playing it safe in terms of, like you're saying now, listening to your parents. Not to say your parents are wrong or right by any means, but it's the safe option. It might not necessarily be what you want to do, but I know for a fact, like my mom would be, go varsity, study this, so that cool you have in your back pocket. If that's what you want to do, cool. By all means, do you. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people, or what I've seen, a lot of people go get the degree, and then by the end of it, it's not even what they want to do. They just have that as that safety net in the back of their pocket, so to speak. And my thing is, it's playing it safe, not willing to fail, try, and learn. You know what I'm saying? And then apply that learning, what you've taken from that lesson, into your next venture. It's like becoming an entrepreneur, for example. You always have to try, fail, learn, and then apply it in your next venture. Like, it's not like you're gonna get it like this. And that's a big thing for your 20s. It's not like you're just gonna get everything in life like this or understand everything in life like this. It's a whole process of going, trying, improving, failing, learning. You know what I'm saying? It's all these little mixes of things that will build you until you find a system and find a purpose or passion for you that works and that you can apply and build upon, if that makes sense.
No, of course. I think it's about trying to align your true core values and your true beliefs and applying it to real life. But how can you do that if you're limited to what you think other people are going to tell or stop you from doing?
And like, by no means am I saying to people like, yeah, you're playing it safe, or things that they're doing is playing it safe. Like, this is just me, my personal life, and what I've thought and what I've personally seen. It's not to say it's truth or fact, it's my perspective, end of day. So that's what I'm saying. If you're a person that wants to, obviously, in my view, play it safe and go the route that you were told to, and not step out of the comfort zone knowing what you want to do or need to do, by all means, that's you. That's what you want to do. But if you want to truly find and understand yourself, you have to take the risks. You have to step out of your comfort zone, like you were saying. And for me, this is the perfect time to do it in your 20s. Because obviously, the later you push on in life, the more, I'll say, dangerous the consequences could potentially be, just in terms of risking at that stage in your life will be more detrimental to risking right now. So that's why your 20s is for failing, learning, risking, seeing what you might reap or what the outcome of certain things could be, because it's going to be less detrimental right now than it will 10 years, 20 years down the line. So, yeah, 20s is, it's a scary period because you feel like you should be somewhere.
There's so much unknown in the world.
Yeah, exactly. You feel like, and I feel like that's just because this is when you're really stepping out into the world. So obviously everything's gonna feel confusing. There's like 5,000 avenues that you could be taking, roads you could be walking down, and you feel like you're supposed to have everything together right now, but that's really not the case. And it's always a thing of also comparison. You feel like you see someone else that's made it at 25, now you feel like you're supposed to be there as well, but you can't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 5 sort of example. So it's a daunting situation, scary time, but it's all about challenging and finding yourself truly in these times. And I don't know how it's been for you or how you feel yourself on it, but those are just things that have been pushing me or been on the forefront of my mind at this current state or current time, let me say. So I don't know your thinking, how you're finding your 20s to be, but I'd like to hear actually on that.
I think my 20s have been a lot of self-discovery. I think that's where it should be. I think because you can't really figure out what you want to do if you don't know who you are, right? And I think a lot of people are so scared to take a deeper look in themselves and self-awareness because maybe childhood trauma, what they're going through now, their perspective of life, they hold on to things, take it personally. I think a lot of people are holding on to what they've lived thus far, like the life they live. And I don't think people are really necessarily excited to change. And people that maybe do want to change but won't, is it because you're so scared of what other people will think? And other people as your family, your friends, your loved ones, anyone, what the world will think. So I think it's about self-awareness, trying to think about where do you want to go in life, the intent of what you want to do with your life. I mean, an extraordinary life, right? People always want that. But I think people in their 20s think an extraordinary life is seeing that guy on social media living overseas, living his best life, or the entrepreneur at 22. But an extraordinary life is different that I've learned from everyone. I mean, yours might be the white picket fence in a family. Mine might be traveling the world. Someone's might be to be a millionaire or CEO. Like an extraordinary life is on your terms. And we have that choice and intent of it. So if you just move with purpose, but find your purpose, and purpose isn't what I'm learning, what you do, in your 20s. I mean, you can be 22 like we are, 2023, and not have a job, but your purpose is you want to help others, right? That's your purpose. Just because your actions aren't reflecting it doesn't mean that's not what you believe that you should be doing. But if you're working towards it and truly putting in the effort to portray that purpose and feel it, then I think you're kind of doing all right, So I think figuring out the 20s has been a lot of who am I? What do I want from life? What do I want to make out of life? But it's been a really difficult period because you continuously lose yourself. And I don't know if you feel that. I think a lot of people feel a bit lost because it's scary because not that you can't do anything. It's scary because it's so new. We're thrown into a world with stuff we think we're prepared for, but in reality, no one can teach you what we're learning or what we're being shown. So I don't know your opinion on the power of like your intent or trying to find purpose in your 20s.
I was going to actually ask you that same question, but one thing for me that I found with finding your purpose, your passion, a lot of it comes from, this was for me personally, I'd find myself struggling to do the hard things. A lot of times in life, we want to do the easy things or take the easy route, but you need to start off doing the hard things. You need to start off by, I believe, in order to find your passion, you need to do something you've never done, and you slowly start to improve on that to a point where you start to enjoy it. I know, okay, let me say this a little bit better. It's about, you start something, you only become good at something by sucking at it first. So, for example, if I say I have a passion for soccer, I started off sucking at soccer first, but because I saw the continuous growth and I kept on pushing it every day, practice, kick the ball against the wall, I would see improvements in terms of how I take players on, my defending getting better.
And there's a sense of achievement in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a high sense of achievement in that. Now you start to feel good about yourself. Now you want to keep on improving. And then through that, that's where the passion or the spark of the passion starts to light up. So it's the same with anything in life. As much as I could say, a common theme that I'm seeing now is I want to learn how to DJ, right? That might not necessarily be my passion. I find it interesting. I practice DJing, day 1, cool, I suck. Week 2, week 3, month 3, I slowly start improving. Things become so much easier. I'm mixing up music and I'm enjoying it. Starts to light a passion within me. Slowly, and not even out of necessarily intent, But slowly things start coming together in terms of someone walks past, hears me DJing, and sees me enjoying myself. They're like, "Oh, brother, online, I hear you. I see what you're doing. You should actually come DJ one of my parties, like, just for fun." That slowly, you're like, okay, might as well. I enjoy it. It wasn't your intent to maybe take this further or try and make money out of it. It was just became a passion of yours, but other people will notice it, and then from that, things will come full circle, I'll say, and you'll be in a position where you end up making money from it. So finding your purpose is understanding what you enjoy first off, understanding yourself. I'll say that most of all. Make sure you understand yourself, who you are, what you value, and what you hold dear to your heart. From that, cool, there could be something that interests you. With the DJ example, something that you hold dear to your heart was music in that sense. So you found an avenue just in which you can
To be able to express that,
express
yeah.
exactly the DJing. You start off, but it's not to say that you're just going to enjoy DJing just because you like music. You start off by sucking at it, and then slowly but surely you improve, increment by increment. And that's just everything in life. It's always about improving slowly, slowly, slowly. And then that's where you find enjoyment. Like I like the quote, it's not the pursuit of happiness, but happiness in the pursuit. So the more you pursue something consistently, day after day, you obviously start to slowly see that improvement. That's where your genuine happiness comes from. That's where you'll feel that warmth in your heart, I believe personally. And I've seen and heard it from other people. So that's what I'd say personally in terms of pursuit, passion, and how I guess you'd find it. But the core thing, or the number one thing I'd say, is start with yourself. Start with making sure you understand yourself, because a lot of people feel like they want to do something to please others in the hopes that they can gain validation or reason to validate themselves, if that makes sense. So always start with yourself. Make sure your self-worth, you understand yourself, what you value, all that. Like, I don't want to sound redundant, but that's what I would say to someone who feels lost or wants to find their purpose or passion.
I'm going to challenge you there because I don't think purpose or passion is found. I think it's created. I think when you're speaking about the internal parts as well, that looking inside yourself, I don't think you can go seeking out a purpose because then it's not yours. You can see others and think of it, but I think purpose truly comes from within, like you create it yourself. I mean, that's where everything comes from. We add to our life. Life doesn't come at us, it comes from us, right? And I like your perspective, but I just think the perspective of people's decisions and their thoughts and everything that they live is from themselves. Nothing is really given to you. You know, you might adopt it from your peers or other people, but I think all your alignments in life truly come from within. So I think people confuse that of searching for something that may not be there. It's something that's created from you, you know, because everyone has created something in the world. Every living person or everything in our lives has been created by someone's purpose that they created themselves, not that they found it because it didn't exist, you know. So that was just a little challenge. But I did like what you said with improving every day, even like by 1%, which is that constant seeking of being a better version. I think a lot of people get caught up in their 20s about they want to be so far ahead of where they are. And I know me and you are guilty of that. We feel like we're so behind. But I think people should take also some time and gratefulness. And like you said, validate your own self-worth by realizing, thank goodness you're not where you used to be. You know, enjoy every step within the journey. You know, where you are is where you used to pray you wanted to be. So on that as well, when you speaking about validation, because we were such people pleasers, I mean, I saw you go through it. I know you've seen me go through it. Has there ever been a moment where you found yourself losing who you were in terms of, you know, projecting something you weren't to make someone else like you or please others, you know, like kind of living for someone else's life, not yours?
Yeah, no, 100%. Obviously, that was a big thing, and we talked about it a little bit, or we touched on it, let me say, in the first episode in terms of we were people pleasers during our time at Urban. And that was in the hopes that by compromising our own self-worth or what we truly value to please others and gain validation from them, we give reason to ourselves to validate ourselves in that hoping we gain self-worth. So like it was a very, I'll say, negative feedback loop. It's something that you have to quickly be aware of or acknowledge, and then find yourself, how do I say, not looking back on it, but understanding it so that you can understand yourself. That's the main thing, finding your own self-confidence. Because if you don't, you're always going to be stuck in that trying to find validation within others because you don't believe it or see it within yourself, if you understand what I'm saying. And I feel like that's something that's very common within people in our 20s, teenagers, going through high school especially, that you see. And it's something that I had to come to the realization of, because that's where I started to turn or do things that I didn't necessarily like or really believe I should be doing, such as turning to substances. And that also just created a dip in your self-worth or how you view yourself, again, at the expense of trying to seem cool, quote unquote, in front of others.
See something that you're not necessarily.
Exactly. And I feel like this is where people fall into that trap of, for example, going out, nothing wrong with it, but going out, drinking way more than you need to seem like, this guy can drink a lot.
Oh, he's a tank,
Yeah,
he's a unit, look at
tank.
this guy, he's a
You see what I'm
party
saying?
animal. Yeah.
Gaining that validation from others, hoping that through that validation from others gives you reason to validate yourself, hoping that it leads into self-worth. But then end of the day, you just wake up the next day feeling shit. You didn't get anything accomplished. Like, this is okay, let me say this was an example that we go through, you know what I'm saying? Back when we were first year at Urban. Wake up, wouldn't do shit, like feeling like shit. And it would all be just to feed back into that same negative feedback loop of hoping one thing would lead to another, but you always have to find it within yourself. And going back a little bit to what you're saying with, you have to create it, right? In terms of your purpose, the passion, finding yourself, it all starts with you, understanding yourself. Then through that, once you understand yourself, you create that passion by slowly starting something, improving on it every day, bit by bit, is what I guess I was trying to say. But I also hear what you were saying and appreciate you for that. And yeah, like I don't want to sound redundant always, but it always comes back to yourself and understanding yourself and finding ways to continuously improve your mindset and gain perspective on things that you never had perspective on before. So like an example or something I'll ask you is, what was something for you that has helped you slowly understand yourself better? So what's been something, whether that's like gymming or going on your walks, journaling, meditating, what's been something that has been very key for you that's helped you understand yourself better and your mental space and your thoughts and navigating all of that?
I think it's a mixture of all of it. I think they all serve different purposes though. I think the gym gives you time to realize how much you want to take care of your body, right? You kind of look at yourself and be like, I feel good, I'm in a good space, and this is all just physically and internally of, I'm treating myself well. You know, they say your body is a temple, because it is. It represents how much you're willing to take care of yourself, right? It's an external show of, I love myself this much, I'm taking care of myself, right? Then the walks that I go on is more of, I need to separate myself from technology and think about nature and kind of reconnect with life itself and think like, wow, you know, the sun's pretty today. Be more appreciative of the present moment and what we truly take for granted, because we're surrounded by people and synthetic things, buildings, technology, everything like that. So it gives me more of a gratefulness thought. Meditating is also really just to prove to myself that I can focus for 10 minutes. You know, if I can focus for 10 minutes on whatever I'm thinking or my breathing, you know, I can focus in the real world for myself. I think a lot of people lack attentiveness or our, what's the word? attention span it's gone. I think the generation TikTok, social media has ruined our attention span. So meditating is just to
100%.
prove to myself if I can focus on a breath, ignore thoughts, but just breathe, and just focus in and out. Sooner or later, you actually just realize it goes quicker than you imagine. It's also just about sitting in silence and being able to be okay in solitude. I think people's minds keep racing, and meditate gives you that practice of, I'm sleeping better from it, and not because I meditate before bed. I just know that I can calm my mind down. And journaling is the number one thing. I struggled last year. I started, stopped, started, stopped. And then I found myself writing things just for the sake of writing, hunting to write things because it felt like I needed to. But now I'm journaling general. I have two journals. You've seen them. One is for really deeper thoughts, and one is my everyday thoughts. And the deeper thoughts are things of what we speak about now, because that's my internal take of, wow, I have this big epiphany or realization that someone else said or something I've come to myself that I can journal down, and writing it down makes it kind of come to life. Typing it, you're going to forget. Your phone is such a busy world in itself. But having a journal, a separate place where you are practiced at writing, it's there to read in your own handwriting. It sticks with you a lot harder. Like, it's a scientific fact. That's why we write notes in school. That's why we take down notes at work. But journaling really allows me to express emotions that I can't deal with internally, if that makes sense. It's like having a conversation with yourself, getting to know yourself better. Why I think this way? Why do I feel this way? Why should I be doing this? Why shouldn't I be doing that? So I think all of that is giving me a deeper understanding of self. And I think on that, people mistake self-love for always like, let me treat myself to something. Let me let myself rot in a little bit of uncomfortability. Like, I'm gonna have a rest day, watch TV. I think self-love is really being the friend you need, or being the person you need. Like, hey man, this isn't right. You got to pick yourself up. Or why are you thinking like this? Let's think about it. It's very, be careful how you speak to yourself. Don't let yourself go down into those holes. Yes, maybe now and then you can feel that worst version of yourself. I do believe you can have a time, but most of the time you need to speak positive to yourself, or keep yourself accountable. Stay true to you, because the most important relationship is with yourself. That's who you got to be with the most in life.
Understanding the power of words.
Exactly.
100%.
And I think you're also a heavy believer in that. I think you've come to this big realization of, be careful how, and words not that just affect ourselves, words that affect others, what you say to people, what they say to you. And I think people throw words so easily.
100%. That, for me, comes from understanding that everyone's perspective, again, that's a big thing, but we'll get into that a little bit. But understanding that people's perspective or understanding of certain things isn't the same as yours. So that's why I also be careful with your words in terms of when you talk to others. Some things that you might say, you thinking, or your intent is, I'm not saying it in a malicious or harsh way, but that's how someone else might be taking it. Same way, like for this podcast right now, when we talk about, I've seen other people, that's not an attack on anyone. That's just our observation and our personal truth. It's not to say that's the objective truth.
Our truth is not to conform your truth.
Exactly. So it's not an attack, but obviously someone watching it will take what they want out of anything. So that's why it's very important to be careful with your words, and also just in terms of your words with yourself, because that's essentially how the brain works, right? If you have certain thoughts and you attach certain feelings to it, that's what becomes your norm, or that's what your body and mind carry out. So if, for example, if I go out clubbing and I say, oh my gosh, this is the best feeling, this is the best time of my life, nothing can ever top this, right? And obviously I have that thought, and I'm really feeling that good feeling, energy, all that. Next time round, I'm going to want to, or the likelihood of me wanting to go out now is going to be at least twice as much, 10 times even, if you really want. Because now what you've solidified in your brain and in your mind is that this thing, me going out, is the only way I could ever get that same feeling again of just pure joy, enjoyment, fun, whatever that thing is. So that's what you're always going to chase. Now you're just going to go out and constantly chase that feeling. And when that does not occur, which in likelihood it really won't, mentality dips. You start to get sad, depression, all these things. So be careful of what you say in general and what you say to yourself, especially with those feelings attached, because in my opinion, that's what becomes your reality. So you say, I can't, with that feeling of doubt, fear, pity.
You're feeling that energy
You're feeding
towards the
that energy
negative part.
towards it,
Yeah.
and you won't be able to do that thing because now your body and your mind have accepted that as truth.
Because now you're believing in it. You're making it a belief to, it's an instruction to your brain of, I can't do this. And you're going to
Exactly.
believe that. Yeah.
I believe personally that your mind, the universe, whatever, doesn't, how do I say, try to interpret your words. They just take them as is. So if you say, I can't do this, with that feeling of doubt, like we're saying again, pity, whatever. Now you've attached and solidified it in your mind and in the universe, and they'll just take it, and they'll just take it as is. Don't be like, nah, okay, no, I understand that my guy's speaking, like he's saying, he can't do it right now, but maybe if you give him a few minutes, he'll be able to, or he's not saying he can't do it, maybe he's just feeling tired. They'll take it as truth, and you just continue to build that cycle within your head, and then your habits will start to show from those thoughts. And that now you'll start to do work less because you've told yourself you can't, with that feeling of fatigue, drained, all that. So now every time you see work, especially when you're in front of something that you need to be doing, so every time you see work, and it was a habit that was something that I became aware of through just listening to some podcasts, obviously, but with Dr. Joe Dispenza, he speaks on it better than I could iterate. So I'd recommend, like, just watching a lot of his videos and his books, because he speaks about the power of mind and feeling and how that creates your reality and all of that. So, but if you just have your work in front of you and you always feeling like tired or fatigued, and you tell yourself, I can't, every time now that you see work that you need to do, your brain and your body will automatically switch to that state, because now that's what you've associated it with. And obviously that creates a difficulty level of accomplishing it and makes it just worse, if I'm making sense. So be careful with what you say, because now that can create your reality and how you feel about certain things. Genuinely finding and understanding myself, a big thing for me that has helped is gaining lessons from the perspective of others. Hence my tattoo. A big thing for me is hearing what everyone has to say. Naturally, I'm a person that if someone speaks to me, I'll give you my whole energy. I'll hear what you have to say, because I never know what you might say and how it could apply in my life, what lessons I could take from it. It's not to say that everything someone says to me, I'll just take as truth, but I'll internalize it, objectively take an objective view from it in my own time, and see if it has genuine application in my life and in the path that I'm trying to go down. A lot of people will say, listen to your elders, for example, but if a kid that's younger than them says something or has a view on something, they'll be quick to dismiss it. I have the belief that listen to what everyone has to say, because from that you never know what you might have missed or what you could take from it. I know that you might think that someone younger than you doesn't know or hasn't lived enough to understand what you might be going through, but the fact that they've lived their own unique life. We all go through the same similar situations, but there's unique differences within each individual that makes them an individual. So there's obviously something that they've gone through or that they've experienced that is unique to them. You might not have experienced that exact thing to that same degree. So there's something you can learn within that.
I love that though, because you're talking about the unique life is brilliant, because everyone does have their own unique life, right? Everyone is seeing different things. And just because you can't see something doesn't mean that person can see it. Doesn't see it. Or something I can do doesn't mean that you can't do it or that you can do it. It's about everyone's different perspectives, like you say, and what am I missing that they are seeing, you know? And it's vice versa. What am I seeing that they're missing, you know? And it's always going to be like that. But
Exactly.
I like your point of people take it too personally. They take it like an attack of, I'm telling you how you should see it. But it's never that case. They just, especially if it's a good intention to prevent you from harm rather than cause harm, if it's for your well being, why not take that? Why not look from their point of view and take a step back? Because I think maybe a lot of people take it like you testing my ego, but it's really not at the end of the day. So,
Because, for example, for me, I was one of those people for time where I couldn't take criticism necessarily, or I'd always feel attacked. And sometimes I still do, you know what I'm saying? For example, my brother recently, or earlier this year, we were just having a chat, all this. And then he told me that I'm very reactive and not proactive. So that for me obviously felt like an attack, and I was like, dude, what you mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? But then I at least got, or was at the point where I told myself, okay, just hold on, bite your tongue, hear what he has to say, let him complete. And as much as in that moment you can feel heated, I know in my mind that, okay, right now I might feel heated, I might not want to be hearing what he's saying, but when I'm in my room by myself later today, I will internalize what he said and actually see if it has any truth or value to it. And I did find myself being very reactive. For example, he says in certain situations, like, I would leave it last minute and be very reactive to what is or what has happened. For example, we moved from Melrose to Four Ways recently, right? I left things very last minute. I knew things were happening, like we might have to move or this, that, this, that. And then when it did happen and we moved, I found myself complaining like, why is this happening? Why no one tell me? Or why do you have to do all this like this right now? But he was like, brother, if you were just proactive and you listened the first time when people said you might have to prepare yourself, have your have all your clothes folded, you know what I'm saying? Just small things you could have done. Make sure your room is always neat. You know where certain things are. So come the time, it's just a quick put this here, put this here, put this here, and go. But you weren't proactive. You're very reactive. Obviously, in that time, I was like, this gent, what does he know? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And a lot of people find themselves like that. But at least, and it's very fair. Like, obviously, you're gonna have your backup when you feel attacked, but at least listen to what he has to say or that person has to say. Maybe not in that moment, but when you know you've cooled down, at least think back on that conversation, see if there is, and be very objective. See if there's any truth to what that person is saying, and if there is anything that can apply. Right now, I've taken what my brother has said, and to my opinion, I feel like I have been very proactive going forward and acknowledged moments where I've been reactive, and it just has helped me so much in improving myself and getting to, well, one step closer to the place that I want to be.
I like what you're saying. It's a complete different topic, but what you're saying I think applies is, you know, when you're saying that your brother says you're reactive and not proactive, and you know that you knew what was happening, but now you didn't want to pack the small things, but then when it came to it, you were complaining. I think a lot of people in life end up realizing they choose their problems. So for using your example, right, you could have felt, let me choose the problem of, let me take some time to pack clothes, right? That is a problem to you right now because, you know, you got to pack. No one
I
likes
feel like,
packing.
why do I have to do that? Yeah, exactly.
But then you face the problem later on of where it's like you complaining, right? But you're choosing your problems. You chose not to pack, that it affected you later. So I think people got to realize, like, what are you willing to kind of struggle for, you know, to go through to where you need to get to? You know, and I know this is just a moving thing, but I think it also, the story applies to real life, which I really like.
No, 100%, 100%. And there's always lessons and stuff like that, which is why I'm saying perspective is such a huge thing. Because if I just switched off my brain, I decided to be closed-minded, tunnel vision, I'd still be the same person. So you get to a point where the pain of staying the same, no, the pain of growth outweighs the pain of staying the same. So in the sense of the pain of hearing the person you used to be, how you used to be, and things you could do to improve, that will genuinely help you if you just take that criticism and see how it applies again. All that outweighs the pain of staying the same, because you can decide, you know what, no, I'm not going to listen to what anyone says. I'm perfect, I'm good. You're just going to stay that same person. You're not going to learn anything. And then you're going to look back on your life and be like, why didn't anything change?
And you live with regrets.
Exactly. But that's because you never did. Like Theo, his name Theo Von.
Yeah, Theo Von.
Yeah, nothing changes if nothing changes, you see. And that's very true. And that applies firstly
One more
to
time for the
yourself.
people in the back.
Yeah, nothing changes when nothing changes, you know what I'm saying, man? And like, that's very true. There's a lot of, Chris Williams said it, and it ties to, like Chris Williams said, that there's a lot of advice or subset of advice that people know to be true, but they refuse to accept. They have the perception that, oh no, that happened to you, but it won't happen to me, for example.
It's ignorance.
Ignorance, exactly. And that's something that ends up, like you're saying, you end up learning the hard way. Say my brother told me that that I'm proactive and reactive stuff before the whole moving out situation, and I decided to be closed-minded about it and not take anything from it. I was still gonna have the same result. I was still gonna be angry, frustrated, because
You probably would have pushed back more.
even more. I'm like, oh, this guy, no, I'm not gonna do anything. You know what I'm saying? And then when that time came, I was just gonna be bitching and moaning about everything because I feel like I'm the victim and nothing has gone my way. But if I listened to what he was actually saying and said, okay, let me try and make a change actually. Let me just try and be different. That outcome, or at least my feelings towards everything and my mindset would have been 100% different.
I'm loving everything you're saying right now because there's 2 points that I love that I take from everything you've spoken about of your truth and your experiences and your journey so far and what you're learning is on the perspective side and learning through things, Satori and Kenshu. I know you know that's one of my favorite things. I mean, tatted on my body through my dad's course. Satori, learning through insight and learning through other people's mistakes and through lessons that you don't experience, but is given an opportunity to learn from. And then Kenshu, which is moments of pain, moments of living through it and going through that situation. So that right there is like a Kenshu moment. You had to go through that lesson in order to understand yourself. But if you had just learned through Satori and learned from what your brother had said, because he's probably been there already of like, dude, I've done this as well, it would have carried you in a different enlightened way instead of having to go it the hard way. And the part I love when you said victim, I think society and figuring out 20s, people end up victimizing themselves, living a victim complex of, oh, why me? Or why has this happened to me? That life is so unfair. Life doesn't happen to you, it happens from you. If you keep having a complaining attitude, that's all you're going to be good at, right? Or if you have a negative attitude, that's all you're going to be good at. Why not realize what could go, instead of what could go wrong, why would I not think what could go right? You know, so what you're saying right there, I just had to say those 2 points because it's brilliant to see how much it applies to what we've been learning and what you've gone through is happening to what we watch and what people say happen and how you always think and you're like, oh, you know, they're just speaking because, like you said, that's theirs, not mine. But it's clear and evident that your mindset and really understanding yourself has a big value in becoming who you want to be.
No, 100%, brother. And that is truly the biggest thing. Your mindset and how you view things shapes your reality. If you just constantly have that victim mindset, like you're saying, you're always going to be a victim. You're going to feel like life is always targeting the smallest inconvenience. You're going to have, or your mentality is going to be down. You're going to feel like life owes you everything. And you're just never going to grow as a person and become independent in yourself because now you're going to rely on certain things.
People want a helping hand, always.
Exactly. And sometimes you just need to stand up for yourself, face the hard things, understand that there's nothing to fear from them, and there's a lot of things that can be learned from them. You know what I'm saying? So it's very key. Like, life is always gonna be hard. There's always gonna be something in life that doesn't go our way or doesn't work out the way we wanted it to. But if you have a mentality of working with what has been given to you, learning from the pain of whatever you've gone through, your growth will always be exponential because you understand that, okay, this happened because of this, um, because maybe I also did this,
Oh,
or
that's
I
so
didn't
powerful. I
do
think you
this.
just hit the perfect thing. It's the accountability. What part do you play of your life going that way? I
Exactly.
mean, what I'm just you gave me goosebumps, dude. Like that, the I part of what are you contributing to this victim mentality or to this negative space? Because at the end of the day, people complain about, oh, I've got to go to work, or I've got to wake up and do this. But you choosing to do that, right? You choosing to live that life. Choose and work towards living a life that you're excited to wake up to, that you're excited to wake up every day and be like, I get to live life. Because every day is an opportunity, not an obligation. So
Yeah, so that truly has played a big part, or everything we've talked about has played a big part in also my self-confidence journey. Because as you know, or might not know, self-confidence was a big thing for me that I struggled with, and coming to understand and love myself, who I am, and what I bring to the table has come into effect through all these factors that we've talked about, from validation to purpose to um, perspective to what we're speaking on now, accountability, that victim mindset. All these things that we've touched on had a role or played a part in coming into my own and gaining that self confidence within myself. So, a question I'd chuck to you would be, what led you, because in my view, you've been someone who I've perceived as confident in themselves. Um, so, what I guess has led you to that point, or is leading you, maybe you might not be feeling that way, but has led you to that point of self confidence and helped you come into your own?
I really appreciate that. I mean, I never knew you had that point of view of me. Um, I don't think I was a confident person and still don't think I am. I think I'm leaning towards growing and practicing trying to be more confident. I think that people most often mistake confidence for an external factor, that it's your looks, it's your posture, whatnot. I mean, those can apply, but I think true self confidence and confidence in general is from within. Are you confident in your abilities? Are you able to provide the things you expect from others? Are you able to give yourself everything fully, right? But I'll give you a story of where I really realized I had no confidence or felt very low about myself. Last year at a digs, one of my mates, our mates, he pulled me aside and he told me, be careful with who you give your energy to, right? And just in terms of, I love to give, and I think you're guilty of that. You've seen me heavily a part of that. And he just said, sometimes what you're giving to others, give to yourself, right? And I thought, comes into perspective again. I thought, no, I don't really agree with that. He's also someone that gives a lot. But it ended up coming to a point where he was right. I gave too much of myself that I lost myself and I lost my confidence, because I was kind of seeking that person's view or perspective on me to feel confident, like, oh, I'm okay. My value's been proven. My confidence has been proven.
That validation aspect.
Yeah, of course. And now it's come to the point of where my true confidence is what I say I will do or won't do. How much do I align with that? Can I back myself? Am I keeping a promise with myself? Am I so capable of my value and know my value and the things I can and can't do? That's true confidence of being able to believe in yourself. Yes, maybe I may not be able to have the answer or be able to do the thing, but trust me, if I want to achieve it, I'm that confident enough, I will learn or do whatever it takes to do that, right?
You're self
So,
aware.
of course. And I mean, I look at myself, there are things I'm not confident in. Like everyone has their little introspections of what they like of themselves and what they don't. And yes, maybe you can't fully love yourself fully or be confident in all your abilities, but you have to kind of look at what you have, not what's missing. And that's happiness and confidence. And that's who you are in a person. You got to be able to realize what you expect others to give you, you at the end can give to yourself without needing them. Like you don't need other people to give to yourself. And you also shouldn't be giving yourself to someone else. You can't pour from an empty cup. You need to refill your cup if you want to be able to pour into others' cups, right? So on that, yeah, the whole purpose of confidence is just really it comes from within. How much do you truly care for yourself and about yourself?
Would you say, sorry to cut you there, would you say that stems from a fear of factor, in the sense of, like you're saying, seeking out others to, or constantly filling the cup of others, in the hopes that it will fill yourself, seeking validation from others in the hopes that you'll validate yourself, constantly chasing something better in the hopes that it will fulfill you to the extent that you wish it will. Don't you think that's, because for me personally it was a factor, it was a fear of factor, fear of feeling unable, a fear of feeling unimportant, a fear of feeling not worthy. I like what you're saying with the whole understanding your weaknesses, what you lack, and that whole play of self-awareness, understanding what you also bring to the table, what you can and what you can't do. I feel like the fear of factor focuses solely on what you can't do, and it creates or it makes you seek out certain things that compromise your own self-worth and your own image of yourself, because now you just focus on what you can't and you don't accept and love what you can.
I love that because you are right. It is a fear factor. And I'll use my example of not giving to someone else, right? We as human beings are so scared to lose people or not feel, like you said, unimportant, valued, needed, wanted. So you end up losing yourself because you're so scared to lose someone else, right? What's the number one, not number one, but what's most fear you hear people say? I'm fear of disappointing. Like, not disappointing yourself. I'm fear I disappoint my family, I disappoint my friends. But you got a number one rule is you shouldn't disappoint yourself. Like, what is true confidence and true love and care for yourself if you are more scared to lose someone else than to lose who you are? So 100% it comes down to fear, and you have to go through it to kind of realize and learn that. And it's unfortunate, but as much as someone might tell you that's been in that same or similar situation, there's only one way, and that's to feel it.
Now, I love what you're saying, that you have to go through that, because again, watching a lot of these videos, self-help, all these
Personal development,
personal
growth.
development, there was a lovely lady, Bailey, blanking on her last name.
Shieldback or
Yes,
childback,
yes,
yeah.
her exactly. Where she was talking about, for growth to happen, you have to become the things that you fear in order to understand that they don't control you. So do the embarrassing things. For example, we fear embarrassment, we fear the way we will be perceived by others, but purposefully do those things, obviously in a controlled way, but purposefully do those things so that you can come to understand the things that you had a fear of, and also break that chain or hold that it had over you. And that for me is very key and vital role in that step forward of self-confidence, because a lot of these things, fear and doubt, are a lot of things that hold people back. But understanding it and venturing into those difficult things that your mind might perceive as you're unable to do, or you lack, or you have no knowledge of, is what hinders you and what creates that lack of self-confidence. So you have to go and do the things that you fear purposefully, again, in a controlled
It's all the
way.
intent. What is the intention of the outcome you want from this result? Are you going because you want to try it, or are you doing it because you want someone else to see you doing it? You know?
Exactly. And through that is where you will genuinely see the most growth, because now you have broken all those chains and you've answered those questions, and you can clearly see the repercussions of things that you thought were going to go a certain way might not have even played out that way necessarily. And you break that perception of, I need to worry about how other people perceive me or how I'm perceived, but, oh, sorry, and that again lifts up your growth exponentially, because now you've done those difficult things, you've tested those waters, and now your mindset gets renewed. Now you have a different perspective on life, in terms of, okay, I went out, I purposely embarrassed myself, obviously in a controlled way
It
again.
wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad.
I'm living, I'm breathing.
Exactly. You come to these realizations, but only by going out and testing, pursuing, and trying to see why you allowed something like this to hold or have such a weight over your life and dictate your actions for so long. So yeah, no, I just love that whole topic of self-confidence, how you come into your own, and the fear of factor is something that I feel like for a lot of people is the number one ruling faction over
Of
everything,
course, people are
and
scared,
their
and
lack
it's
of it.
people are very scared because yourself, you don't want to be detrimental to yourself and like you feeling you changing in terms of a bad way, right? But you can never know unless you try it, right? And something on the topic of people that we watch, I mean, Jay Shetty, someone I love, the On Purpose podcast. I don't know specifically with which podcast, but I know that Jay Shetty speaks about what is the point of losing yourself in hoping someone else loves you? You know, that's not confidence. How can that be confidence? Because you're willing to give who you are, your whole basis, your values, your morals, just to align with someone else's that may not align with yours. You know, so it's in about finding, like you said, your purpose, right? It's about creating it. Like you can't go searching it for someone else. And another part, before we move on from here, is when he speaks about with someone that it's such a terrible thought or terrible thing that we go through as human beings, and I think specifically in our 20s, of we give so much power to other people to determine our value. Then what value do you have to yourself? You know, we give all this power in someone else's hands that we are weighed upon in life and rank in these areas because someone else says so, because someone else views us this way. There's people that are still looking at the past version of yourself more than you do. You know, everyone has a different version that they've seen of you and they see you that way. And it can be positive or negative. Someone can be, oh, you're the reason they smoked or the reason they drank, but someone can see you as that was their first friend, that was their first love. You know, everyone holds a different version of you. But the only one that truly matters is the one you hold of yourself. When you look in that mirror, are you happy with the person you're seeing?
Now, and I love everything you said, and it actually made me realize something. Uh, a rule that I can not say a rule, but something that has really governed my way of life or the way I go about things and interacting with a lot of people is I always believe that saying of treat others the way you'd want to be treated, essentially, right? But I've also realized, and you made me realize it now, that I'm coming out of it now slowly, but I used to now flip that and not treat myself the way I treat others. I treat others with respect, love, make them feel good about themselves, but I don't return that to myself. So it's a very contradictory way of living when you say treat others the way you treat yourself, but you're not treating yourself the way you treat others. You see what I'm
Of
saying?
course, you're breaking your own trust in that regard, you know? And that's what I think also tying the self confidence topic is it's about the bond with yourself. How much do you trust yourself? You know, can you look and say things that you know you are fully capable of? Even if you're not, you're just aware of what you can and can't do. Um, but that's brilliant because I really like that. I think a lot of people would rather give than give to themselves. They rather fill other people's cups than fill their own. And how can you do that? You know, I mean, at the end of the day, you're only damaging yourself. That's the reason you feel in a shit mood. It's the reason your social battery's drained. You have to take time to just be in solitude and love and do the things that are good for you. And not you in terms of just other people. Yes, we all recharge over a good social event or we all think this is fun. But for true happiness, you just need to sit and have time to yourself, you know?
Oh,
But
always.
I love that you're talking about, you know, your growth and how you got kind of shared and that you're growing into this new space. So coming to the end of the episode and the closing thoughts, the topic of you have to shed a version or let go of a version of yourself that you are to in order of the act of being who you want to become. Because in life it's not the act of becoming instead of being.
Nah, that comes into what I said earlier of where you have to consider the weight of or the pain of growing in terms of doing the difficult things and the pain of staying the same. So coming into your own, stepping out of your shell comes with those growths. Like Jack Harlow said it, I love these bar. I can't really paraphrase it now, but he essentially talked about how he's stepping up in this industry. So obviously there's going to be, or he's growing taller in this industry, but there's obviously going to be growing pains, you know what I'm saying? Playing on the, your knees get growing pains when you grow taller, all that. But just applying it to life, like obviously growth is going to come with its pains, you know what I'm saying? So when you accept that outweighing the pain of staying the same, that's when you will grow further. So everything that we've talked about now has an effect into the person we want to become. Understanding that, I like what you're saying also in terms of our past selves, understanding that this was our past self. It's not necessarily to say who we are or who we're becoming. I know I said it the last episode, but it still holds true very much so now. We understand that this is the past, this is who we were, but it's not to say who we are now or who we are becoming. So always just reflect on what you used to do, where you used to be, and also give yourself your flowers for where you are now and the things that you have improved on. Because it's a lot of the time it's easy to fault yourself, especially when you're trying to continuously become better. I didn't go to the gym today. I didn't do this. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. But you're doing better than what you used to. So that's obviously always the first step, and it'll be continuous, and you're always pursuing. You're always pursuing that life or that journey. Ties in again to what we said earlier of it's not the pursuit of happiness, it's happiness in the pursuit. So that's a huge thing in growing, or this growth journey that we're on right now. It's just continuously, day by day, making those cognitive choices to be better. What I love actually is we all have, and what I believe, we all have that voice in our head, right? Like I'll say that player on the devil and angel on your shoulders, right? Obviously the devil will tell you, nah, just chill at home, just watch series, maybe watch 1 or 2 more episodes. But there's also still that angel voice that always tells you, you know what you need to be doing, do better. Always try tap into that voice. Day by day, make that choice to tap into that voice, because at the end of the day, you know what's best for yourself. You know what's good, what's right. You've navigated this life. If it turns out what you thought to be good wasn't actually good for you, that's just a lesson. There's no need to fear or run from it because you had a slight feeling of doubt on whether this is actually good or bad for me. Go pursue it, learn. And that will give you more growth than anything else in this world. So yeah, for me, those would be my closing thoughts just on everything that we have said. Is listen to yourself, really. Listen to that little angel voice that you know what is best for you, and you know what you need to be doing in that moment or at that time. That's going to be best for your own personal development, and continue to try to tap into that. If what you thought to be doing was bad, or not bad, but not necessarily the right step, you learn from it. It's fine. Now you can apply it and use it in your life in a different way. Or you just know, okay, that's something I should be or should not be doing, or perceive to be good, isn't as good as I thought. Maybe let me do this next time. So just continuously chasing that voice, that self-development, and understanding it's a journey. It's not a race. Take your time. Take one step at a time. Diary of a CEO. I was reading
Stephen Bartlett, great podcast.
100%.
Yeah.
He was saying, or there was something where he was like, in life, he didn't know where to go. But what he realized is, if you can see your first step, just take that, and then the path will become clear, inevitably. So a lot of times in life, people feel like they don't know which step to take, but just take one.
As long as it's in the right direction.
Exactly. Just take one, and inevitably that path will become clear. I like what your dad was saying in his podcast, in the podcast with you, where people think that growth, the journey of growth, is just a straight line, when it's more of
a 180 degree.
A 180 degree where you'll maybe go, come back, but the direction is still forward. You just need to continuously take those steps, and that path will become clear eventually. So yeah, those are my personal closing thoughts. I don't know about you and how things have been in your life, in your journey of self-development, growth, and becoming.
I think it's great. I mean, my final thoughts for episode 2, we've all been there, we've all felt that, but something I've really felt heavily is, if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. And if you do it, make sure it's a mistake and it's not a choice. Like, if you keep making the mistake it's a decision. You know, if you don't learn from it, life is going to keep throwing you that lesson until you learn from it. And then also, something that really stuck with me and hit me last year, lowest moments, is just realizing, would I rather live the rest of my life of the regrets of knowing I could have been something more, my untapped potential, or have I become the excuses I keep making? Or do I want to edge and move towards a better life and becoming the best version of myself, and myself, not for someone else? The best version I feel is aligning with my purpose, my goals, my values. And I really just do believe and urge people that be intensive with your decisions and your everyday. Make sure you're creating a life that you cannot wait to wake up to, no matter every aspect. Be grateful for what you have and live every day like it is an opportunity, and that it's not a day that is dreadful and it's an obligation, like you have to do it. You have to have this feeling of you want to do it, you know, and just be grateful of where you are in your journey, no matter where it is, the lowest, the highest, the middle. There is no prime. It's a constant day of improvement, improvement, improvement. There is no such thing as perfection. There's only chasing being better.
Nah, I love that.
Yeah.
Love that, brother. Nah, thanks again for having me.
Of
I really
course.
appreciate you. Appreciate these conversations. And again, for people watching, like, we might not be saying things the best way, but again, we learning through this process. We continuously growing, and we at least having these conversations.
It's about having the real conversations, the ones that should matter, at figuring out life together.
Exactly. Nah, bless, brother. Appreciate you for everything that you said.
Always, boy.
Giving me insight. I hope I've shed some light on a few things for you as well.
Of course. I hope everyone's taken in and learning from us as much as I'm learning from you and you learning from me.
And best of luck on your journey, where it takes you. I know big things are coming your way, and I'm span proud of you, G.
Thanks, boy.